Hey, what's up, guys? Tugi here, back again with another episode of my Columbus Blue Jackets USA Nation United franchise. You know the whole spiel. You do. So let's get right down to business today. And the first order of business is to address a fault of mine as a person, and that is that at times I take franchise mode a little bit too seriously. In that I'm not the type of person, and I don't know if I'm not sitting here pointing fingers at anybody, but I'm not the type of person to just be like, all right, let me load up franchise and half-ass it, and yeah, that'll be today's episode. I have spent over 2 hours looking at every single team and finding every single player that is available to us and looking at every single option that we have moving forward. The Columbus Blue Jackets, this team, we're not in the worst spot. We have a winning record on the season. Yes, we are on a bit of a downward slide at the moment. We're on quite a losing streak that we really need to snap, and snap soon. The team itself is solid, even if they are underperforming. We're not in a terrible spot. We've done pretty well in terms of rebounding after having to make such a major moves, trading Matthews, trading Eichel. That's what this series has sort of become. It's just been wheeling and dealing, one big move after another, and that's not exactly what I planned on having this series be. But as we've discussed before, for the most part, there have been very few top-notch prospects to come out of the U.S. throughout the course of this series, even if we are still in the somewhat early stages. Middlestad's only 24, Besser's 25, but it has become a bit of an issue. And now when we look at this team, someone like Ryan Donato, we talked about whether or not we wanted to trade him. We looked at this defense, the questions of can we try to find a better balance, and I've come up with the game plan here mainly due to the fact that things have changed, as you know, with the contract situations. Despite how well this team is doing, despite the losing streak at the moment, despite how good things look, it can't last because we have way too many contracts coming up. Big time contracts. You look, I believe at best, I did the math, between Trouba, Hughes, Mittelstadt, and Tkachuk, that's it. We could sign those four if we're lucky, and it's because so many players don't want to sign a contract extension. It really is handcuffing us moving forward. So with that, this episode is going to consist of more wheeling and dealing, and in a way, the team is going to be a lot worse on paper. That's not always a death sentence in terms of our playoff opportunities, but it will get you a look at some of the prospects. Thankfully, there are some solid defensive prospects that we can go out and get, some of which were drafted in like the 3rd and 5th rounds, so some that just snuck under the radar. And of course, that's an easier way to kind of judge it, is we get to go after these players after the fact instead of just banking on them being good in the draft. There's a lot to consider here. There's a lot to consider. Now, I will say, first and foremost, Ryan Donato is staying on this team for now. We have a couple more weeks until the deadline. I want to see how he does moving forward. There is a contingency plan. I have 3 players marked down that are options if this goes poorly. That includes Kyle Connor, who we've looked at for quite a while. He makes about the same as Donato, not having his greatest season, though. So that is the unfortunate thing there. We move to New Jersey, where Dylan Larkin is an option. Again, Donato makes $300K more, actually a little bit under $300K more than Larkin, but Dylan Larkin's having a tremendous season, 2 years left on his deal. And the third option is Jake Gensel of the St. Louis Blues. Again, about the same money total, 35 points on the season, so Larkin would probably be the main target, but for the moment, we are going to keep Ryan Donato on this team. The majority of these trades will be for prospects. Now, we do have a couple of players that I am looking to move. We also have draft picks that we can utilize, mainly the 4 first-round picks, to try and pull off these trades. let's get down to it. And some people are going to be like, I said you were going to get down to it 4 minutes ago. And you're right. So let's go. The first trade, because I don't really have an order for these, I think I'm just going to go in order of team and how it's listed. There are 3 forwards I'm looking at and 5 defensemen that I am looking at. And we're going to start in Arizona with a somewhat familiar name, if I'm not mistaken. We just had him recently. Actually, you know what? I might change my mind on this. I might change my mind on this guy in particular. Where is he? Yep, hold on. He's Anaheim, not Arizona. There we go, maybe. Yeah, there he is. Sanderson. This is the type of forward that we have. 72 overall, 20 years old. Not ideal. And you know what? I'm actually going to back out of acquiring him because that's not good, is it? So there are 2 forward prospects that I'm interested in. The first being this guy here on the St. Louis Blues. Now, 8 overall points weaker, 2 years younger than Sanderson. Murray Altschuler, the former 13th overall pick in the 2022 draft. It's a little bit risky, but I'm willing to take the risk on Mr. Altschuler. There is also, if I was going after Jake Gensel, it'd be fine. Man, you know what? No, we're good. We're good. Murray Altschuler works. There's a couple other players that I'm looking at on the Blues. For the moment, we are just going to try to acquire Altschuler. And to do so, I'm thinking draft picks may be the best way to go. Van Kadishin being a 74 at 22. Don't really have much faith in that, or Scott Reedy. So I'm going to look to move Van Kadishin in this deal. The good thing is, of course, as well, they want to trade Altschuler. So it makes it a little bit easier. And Adam Gaudette is someone that needs to go. We signed him to a little bit of a hefty contract just to make sure he could come back. It's not going to be able to. He's not going to be a part of this trade right now. God, I hate that glitch where it freezes up and you have to hit over to the right. It's inconvenient. It's inconvenient. But let's see what we can do here. How about the Arizona third? Is that enough? Van Kadishin and a third. It is not. And you never know with them wanting to trade the player. How about a fourth? We'll just kind of slowly inch our way there. Still not particularly interested. You're interested in the draft picks, are you not? And you want to trade Altschuler. So let's make a deal here. Quite close to fair value. I talked about it for a reason in targeting these players once they've been drafted and once we can see how good they actually are, as opposed to just drafting them and getting stuck with that particular player if they're not that great. This type of strategy does work out a little bit better. We acquire Altschuler from the Blues. One of many moves to come. And with that, we move over to Toronto. They have the other forward that I was looking at. He's not as much of a guarantee, but low elites have been interesting this year. Actually, he's not even the low elite guy I was thinking of. Never mind. It's Hines. Dean Hines. 77 overall, 20 years old. Low top 6, which we've seen some players with the low top 6 potential develop. Others have not. It's a pretty low-risk pickup, though, in making this deal with Toronto. Actually, where were they cap space-wise? I might be able to send Gaudette to Toronto, and it would be nice to kind of screw over an Eastern Conference team with that rough contract. They want him as well, so we will still have to send draft picks back, but it shouldn't be anything too crazy. And goaltender-wise, the only unsigned guy is Gibson. I was just trying to make sure that we didn't have anybody unsigned that we could send over in that deal. What about the Vancouver third? And that went through straight up. So there you go. Gaudette and the Vancouver third to Toronto for Hines. And that works. So those were the only 2 forward prospects from the U.S. that I found interesting enough to acquire. That shows you how bad that situation is. But thankfully, there are defensive options from there. We'll go ahead and look to make those moves now. So the first target here, I took the long way around, I don't know why, is from the Minnesota Wild, and that would be Olsen, who is pretty good, kind of. He's a real fringe prospect, though. 64 overall, 19 years old. The medium elite's nice. There's no guarantees that he's going to develop, but considering they want to trade him, a former second-round pick, considering they want to trade him, it's a safe bet to just go out and get him. And in the meantime, Noah Hannafin. One of those contracts that we have to move. There is pretty much no choice. It's one of those contracts that we have to move. Minnesota would be over the cap, though. That I did not notice. Okay, I might have to I might have to, you know what? Oh, we're going to be moving picks anyway. Carlo's also on his way out. I'm not sure how crazy I'll have to be draft pick-wise, but we're going to do what we have to do here. We are going to look to move our first-round pick first. So Carlo in a first isn't enough, which is not surprising whatsoever. What about the Winnipeg second as well? How close does that get us? Still not all that close. Let's use the second-round pick next year as well. That would go through, but they'd have to put Mirko Mueller on waivers. Do they have anybody else on that team? I could just take Mueller and just keep him down in the AHL for the rest of the season. Of course, this is the one issue. Patrice Bergeron. What a guy. I don't know if they'd have any other Americans signed just to try and keep the integrity of this series, I guess. I don't know. Nick Shore is actually an American. 2 years left. Andrew Kopp has 1 year left. I'll take Andrew Kopp back in the deal. That'd be all right, actually. Just as a depth option. And from there, if I go to the third-round pick next year instead of the second, what do they think about that? Value is still too far off, so we'll go to the second-round pick again. Carlo, a first and 2 seconds for Olsen and Kopp. Is that enough? Oh, God forbid you lose Roland McCown this time. All right, well, what if we give them more value? That extra third, does that push it over the limit so it's worth losing McCown to you? It does. So we're giving up a lot here, obviously. In my opinion, is it worth it? Time will tell, especially when there are other prospects that I'm targeting. You can make up your own mind once you see what the full scope of this team looks like and the fact that we're actually going to have cap space to bring back some players. So Carlo, a first, 2 seconds, and a third to Minnesota for Olsen and Kopp. Let's go ahead and complete that deal. And we should still be good to go best lines, and indeed we are. Next up, let's talk to the Nashville Predators. They also have a defenseman that I'm interested in. That would be Pelech. 68 overall, 19 years old, Wade Pelech, a former 9th overall selection. They don't want to trade him, so of course it's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass to try and acquire this guy, but we will do what we can. And from there, we still have some big names that we need to look to move out, but it still might be for the best to rely on draft picks here. So let's see. Lindgren, Moss, using Rathbone. Yeah, you know what? I think using Rathbone's value here, there's not a lot of it, but using his value there may be the best way to go. And is there anybody else that I could add to this deal? I really don't have faith in Scott Reedy. Do they have the roster spots? They don't. So that, of course, is the one downside, making all these deals if someone's not available or if another team doesn't have the contract spots. I could double check to see if it makes sense, but I will just use the Washington first here, and hopefully that's enough. Let's safety net it with a third and a sixth. Will that go through? No, it will not. What about just the third? Straight up? Still no. Just a bit off. Okay, so Rathbone, the first, and how about our sixth for Pelech? Will that go through? Yes, it will. So thank you very much, Nashville, for one Wade Pelech. 3 other defensive prospects that I am targeting, the best prospects that are available to us, thanks to just the way this series has played out. And the next one is a big one. It is Ernie. Gabriel Ernie. 73 overall, 20 years old, a former third-round pick. So you see a lot of these guys, there was no way of knowing. I'm a little bit concerned about his development, but we have players that we need to move anyway. So it kind of works out, and Noah Hannafin is going to be the guy that I look to move here. We might not be able to get much back draft pick-wise, but again, Hannafin has to go. We don't have the salary space to pull this off, just because so many players don't want to re-sign. There was no way of predicting that, really. I mean, you could argue, oh shit, wow, the game just saved me quite a bit there. I mean, you could have guessed that a lot of teams would reject, but not to, I'd say, this extent where so many guys don't want to re-sign, with the exception of Jack Hughes, who, of course, is coming off of his entry-level deal, so he's fine with staying. But it's going to be Hannafin, a 7th, and a 4th for Ernie, and a 2nd. Still not enough. All right, let's go ahead and add a 5th-round pick next year. Will that go through? See, again, just a bit low. Really? Only a bit? 4 draft picks is a bit. you say? Thank you. I'll take it, though. Noah Hannafin off to the New York Islanders in exchange for Gabriel Ernie and a second-round selection. That deal is done. Do I have to call anybody up? I don't. We're still at 18 skaters. Perfect. 2 other players. The next is from the New York Rangers. This is the low elite prospect that I was talking about. That would be Tommy Murphy. Now, he's a 66 at 20 years old, former 5th-round pick. Low elite potentials, though. You know, sometimes there's that crazy bit of development. I'm hopeful. It's not the safest bet by any stretch of the imagination, but we kind of have to take that risk. We need to try and develop some prospects, even if we haven't had that much luck in terms of getting those high-level prospects. I'm going to look to give up Scott Reedy here in this deal. Although Murphy is not signed. So you know what? We'll just go draft picks. We'll just go with draft picks because the only unsigned player we have is the goaltender. So let's go back to draft picks. And wow, what am I doing? There we go, sort by year. Let's go, oh boy, Colorado and Ottawa. Let me actually take a look here. Ottawa on 23 wins, Colorado on 23. Right. Suppose it doesn't really matter then, does it? It's certainly a risk. There could be a great American player in the draft, but then again, it might not work out anyway. So it's worth the risk to me. Should have sorted by defense, but what are you going to do? Yeah, mainly because I thought it was sorted by all players, and it was only sorted by forwards. Murphy, let's do this. So many moves. So many moves. Some of which I don't have the utmost of confidence in. But my hands are kind of tied here. So Colorado, that first-round pick. Let's get back whatever picks we can here. Can I doubt I can get back there first next year, right? More than likely not. No. What about a first and a second? Still no. What about that first? Quite close to fair value. That might work out. I mean, the Rangers are a good team, but Murphy in a first for the Ottawa, or the Colorado first, and is a 4th rounder enough? It is. I will take it. Let's get Murphy from the Rangers. 1 prospect left. He is currently on the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that would be this defenseman, Ald, who, at least our defensive situation, I mean, I'm sorted by value there. At least our defensive situation looks better than Tampa's, doesn't it? Or, for that matter, Vegas. Vegas is in a very rough spot as well. So let's go ahead and target one Mr. Sean Ald, former 12th overall selection. They do not have any contract spots. Was he? I didn't even check. Was he signed? He is signed. Good. So I can at least tack on somebody to this deal. And I gotta admit, there's one more big player to move. I'm sure you can guess who that is. And whether or not I move him in this deal or just get draft picks for him, I'm not sure. And I'm probably just going to go draft picks. And then I have a couple of other players that are going to be in the lineup that I need to acquire. So let's add Reedy to this deal. Again, they don't want to move Ald, which is going to make this a somewhat difficult trade to pull off. We still have our first round, or Ottawa's first round pick next year. Now we have 2 first round picks. Ottawa's pick this year, 2 first round picks next year. Let's use our first rounder next year. Will that go through? It will not. Quite close to fair value, though. Let's tack on a 6th and a 7th. Is that good enough? It is not. I'll just keep adding on these lower picks. Fine by me. Is that extra 7th enough? So Reedy a 1st, a 6th, and 2 7ths. Still no. We'll take out the 7th. Let's go for the 5th. Is that enough to acquire Ald? Yes, it is. So there we go. All of the best defensive prospects from the U.S. currently reside now on our team. Whether or not they develop, time will tell. Now, I do have a replacement in mind for Noah Hannafin. It's a short-term solution. That would be current Boston Bruin, but in the sim right now, Detroit's Matt Grzelcyk, who they want to trade. He's developed into a very well-rounded defenseman, so he'll fit in quite well here. I don't believe there's anybody else that's really worth trading, although contract spots, 50. So we'll just go ahead and add Goldowski to that deal just to flip him. And I don't think it'll take too much else to get him. Matter of fact, will that go through on its own? No. Well, worth a shot because they wanted to trade him. Let's do the 4th and the 7th. I'm cool with that. That should go through no problem. Or not. Okay, he's a very low-value player that you want to trade anyway, but that's not going through. Right. Makes sense to me. Screw it. Have all of the low-round picks for Grzelcyk. I don't care. I need to get who I need to get. And allow me to just keep one other thing in mind. Thank you, Word document, for screwing up, as of course I have meticulously kept track of all of this, because why wouldn't I? So Matt Grzelcyk is going to be on this team moving forward. We have 2 other players that we need to acquire, and actually we need to make another deal with Tampa. But as far as who we're acquiring first, Rangers fans, you know him quite well. And Pionk or Pionk? I'm going with Pionk, and it's probably wrong. I cannot remember. People have corrected me numerous times ever since last year's Rebuilding Hockeytown series. I can never quite remember. His stats this year aren't great. I can confirm that. His stats this year aren't great, but he is a well-rounded player, and it may just work out for us. Notice I said may. Probably not, but it could. And that's the point. It could. We're still keeping our team somewhat competitive while adding some players in, or, while getting rid of some players that we have to get rid of, adding some prospects to the mix. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, we are weakening our team for the short term, although we should still be able to be competitive as that goes through. So we have Pionk acquired, and now we need one more player. Let's go ahead and go best lines. This final player is on the Tampa Bay Lightning, as I previously mentioned, and that would be defenseman Casey Fitzgerald. 81 overall at 25 years old. A little bit of a hefty contract. Well-rounded player, though. Not having the best season, but someone who can fill a role that we need him to play for the moment while these prospects hopefully develop. In terms of the other big fish we need to trade, you know who it is. It's Trouba. He has to go. We're going to keep the McAvoy-Werenski top pairing. I think I'm just going to find whatever team has the best odds for the number 1 pick right now and send him there. So we'll recover a very high-end pick. And for the moment, Jesus, that's our... So over the next 2 drafts, we have 2 first-round picks, a 4th and a 6th. That's it. So that is incredibly rough. But we should be able to recoup some assets with this upcoming Trouba trade. Let's go ahead and trade that second. And again, with how inconsistent the draft has been for us, it's not the worst case scenario to have no picks, really. Will that go through? Yes, it will. Casey Fitzgerald, welcome to Columbus. Now, here's the thing. We may not be done. Again, if Donato fails, we're going to look at Larkin. If Quinn Hughes cannot be re-signed, he's going to be moved out. I already have a replacement in mind. It's Gavin Bayreuther, who's currently on the St. Louis Blues. So we'll see what happens with Quinn Hughes before the moment. Let's go ahead and just take a look at the standings and see who has the worst record in the league. That will be Trouba's new home. And we'll see how competitive this team can be. This isn't necessarily the direction I wanted to go. Why did I go to player stats? This isn't necessarily the direction that I wanted to go with this team, but so many players, high-end players, not wanting to stay here, we don't have the money to spend to keep them. So let's see. Worst team in the league is Detroit by quite a large margin. So let's go talk to the Red Wings, shall we? For the record, when I was looking, Johnny Gaudreau actually, even though he went to open market, he signed or re-signed with Boston. Funny little tidbit I found there while I was searching through every team. So Detroit, you're not going to want to trade that pick. I don't really care about what you want. I am offering you one Mr. Trouba, who you don't want. And you'd have too many skaters in the organization, but that is okay. The fact that they don't want to trade this pick as well means it is going to be that much more expensive. Do you have any Americans? You do have Goldowski, who I just flipped to you, so you know what? I'll gladly take him back. And let's see what we can do here draft pick-wise. Although, do you know what? It was Pittsburgh and Boston also in the bottom 3. Do the Bruins want to trade their picks? Not that one at least, but the extra picks they do. What about Pittsburgh? Risky move to move Trouba to a division rival. I'm thinking Pittsburgh or Boston's the better way to go. Just because they want to move the second and third round picks where Detroit doesn't care to, and that could be where we make up extra value. I'm gonna move him to Boston because obviously trading with Pittsburgh quite risky, to say the least. That's going to be way too much, I'm sure, and we would need to get back an extra skater. But obviously, we're going to see just how much we can get back in this deal. Parise, 3 years left. Good Lord, no thank you. No thank you. JFK, Whitman, Bouchard. Is that Anderson McDonald? It is. How the mighty have fallen. Nick Seeler. Nick Seeler, I know for a fact, is American. Will that go through? 2 firsts and 2 seconds along with Seeler for Trouba? It will not. Not surprised. Let's take out the second round pick next year. We'll reduce that to a third. Will that go through? Probably not. Indeed it won't. Will that go through on its own? No, but the value's just a bit low. All right, so 2 firsts, including what could be a number 1 overall pick, if not a top 3, a second round pick, and a Nick Seeler tack on. It's not a bad spot to be in. We'll use a 4th and a 7th down the road. Will that go through? Not quite. Just a bit, they said. Just a bit. Let's use another 5th and another 6th just to try and get that to go through. Oh my God, EA. Please change the trade logic, change the terminology that's used there. It bugs the ever-loving hell out of me. Will Trouba in a third be enough? Yes, it will. So there you go. We make the deal with Boston. Trouba is out of here. And this team looks drastically different, particularly on defense. So, taking a look here, the right side is going to be McAvoy, Fitzgerald, and Pionk. Seeler and Grzelcyk playing. That actually works. Yeah, actually, that's fine. To be honest, we didn't even... Wait, hold on. That's right, we don't need Seeler. Yeah, because we have Werenski and Hughes. So Seeler can be sent down. If we lose him on waivers, so be it. Which we did not. So funny enough, Seeler could actually play over Gavin Bayreuther if I had to trade Hughes, or at the very least he can be there for a depth option. And of course down in the minors, we'll take a look. Quite a few of the guys we just acquired will still be in junior. But we'll take a look from there. Andrew Kopp as well can be sent down. He did not clear. Kind of sucks, but it's not the biggest loss in the world. So let's take a look at what this lineup's going to look like, and then we have to focus on re-signing players. That's going to be the real fun part. So we'll have... Actually, that's pretty much good to go. Yeah, it's good to go. And then defensively, also good to go. We'll play... Actually, Fitzgerald or Pionk with Hughes? That's my question. Let me take a look here. So puck skills are about the same. Better shot for Fitzgerald. Better skating for Fitzgerald. Let's go with Fitzgerald. And then Grzelcyk and Pionk. That works. So again, obviously it's weaker. Our main concerns, Ottinger's save percentage was a bit low, but our goaltending is good enough for the future. We're fine there. The offense is the same for the moment because there's not a whole hell of a lot we can do. What now matters is how Ryan Donato performs up to the deadline, and then our defense is drastically different with the Werenski-McAvoy pairing still leading the way, but we are set up for the future. That's the key, as we have brought in some half-decent prospects, some of which won't make it. We know this, but we'll see which ones do, and it might just be able to help us out. Let's take a look. So Wild, who was low top 4, he's a 72. You know, I think we're good to leave him out. I don't think it's the end of the world to not have him playing. We'll put Gilden on that side, and that works out there. And then AHL-wise, up to deadline day, I will probably just leave the team as is, and then I'll look to bring in some random Americans just to bump up that team a little bit. So the next step, before I even get into simming any games in this episode, let's send out those early contract offers. Now, we had a projected $22 million available to us before we started making those trades. I am intrigued to see what it is now. As far as goaltenders go, I'm okay with potentially letting go of Gillies. Petruzzelli, again, and Gibson will end up signing then and there. Of course, we have Timmins as the backup goalie for the future, so I'm okay with letting go of Gillies and having Timmins be the backup next season. Petruzzelli, I'm, again, fine with letting go of, and Gibson will be signed at that point in time. Quinn Hughes is the first guy that I'm going to look to potentially not bring back. We're looking for the big-time names, and I suppose the first would be Oliver Wahlstrom, as we now have an extra $14 million to work with, and that, of course, is going to help us pull off these moves. So, necessary evil. Let's go up to 3.5 over 2 years, with him not wanting to re-sign. Greenway as well, not wanting to re-sign. It's a little bit of a rough contract. Let's go 3.25 over 2 years, and we'll see how well that works out. Kevin LeBanc will hold off on. I've been happy with Greenway this year. And here's one of the first big deals, Brady Tkachuk. You know what, 4 years works, but it's going to have to be about $8 million. So you can see why we had to make certain deals. Is Tkachuk worth that? Maybe, maybe not. For the moment, it's at least worth re-signing him and then potentially moving him at the draft if we have to, if we think that's a little bit too much for him. But the key was re-signing him for now. Frederick I'll worry about later. Middlestat and Hughes are the two other big ones. Of course, Middlestat, you know what, 4 years works. 8.5 over 4 years, a ton of money. And then thankfully, Jack Hughes is willing to resign. I'll give him exactly what he wants, but we will hit him with the 85%. That'll bring it down to 6.3, which is pretty damn good. So those are the early offers. Ryan Poehling, actually, someone who's I'm going to look to bring back. He's not wanting to re-sign. We'll try 1 year at 3.8. And from there, we'll just continue along, offering contracts when and where we can. The big thing right now, as mentioned, Ryan Donato. We will see how you perform leading into the deadline. A lot of mainly with Trouba, who had about 35 points this season, if I'm not mistaken. That's off the board. This is now the time for someone like Ryan Donato to step up. 25 points so far this season. Let's see what he can do as we progress. And whether or not Dylan Larkin, Jake Gensel, or Kyle Connor end up being Blue Jackets within 3 weeks or so, time will tell. So Greenway is going to be back. Poehling accepted. Wahlstrom rejected. Middlestat's back. Hughes is back. Tkachuk is signed as well. We did lose again. We finally snapped that losing streak, though, against Colorado. So that's over, thankfully, although the damage was done. Of course, as we are no longer in first, we're down in a wild card spot. So that's not exactly promising, but we have time to dig ourselves out of this and potentially make the playoffs. This year, I don't know if I expected us to be cup contenders. You know, especially now, knowing that we had to make certain moves to free up cap space. We may have been able to hold on to a Trouba. You know, we may have been able to hold on to some of those. I don't know, actually. Let's take a look. How much money do we have left? $11 million left. Yeah, see, there's no way. There's no way. So, in terms of who else we have to sign, Quinn Hughes hasn't even been signed yet. Wahlstrom hasn't been signed yet either. Someone like Farabee, there's no way. There's just no way. We couldn't afford it. We had to make these moves. So, Hughes is potentially the last guy that I'm going to look to bring back, just because, of course, we have that defensive depth now. So let's target bringing back Wahlstrom. And I'm going to go up to 3.75 over 2 years for him. Trent Frederick is willing to come back, and that could be big for us. 3.175, so just, I'm guessing like 2.6. Yeah, 2.690, so basically 2.7. 2.7, that's not terrible. There's a good chance I could actually move Frederick. Farabee needs to resign. Joel Farabee's not looking for anything, which is great. We'll drop that down to 1325. Neil Pionk. Looking to get paid a little bit more than I'm willing to sign him for. He's willing to sign the extension, though. Let's go 1 year and see what we can knock that down to. 2.375. That's still a bit much. I'll do it, though. Might make him difficult to move, to be honest, though. Kevin LeBanc does not want to re-sign. Oh, you're looking for too much money, too. Johnny Bertuzzi, not wanting to re-sign. Admittedly, signing Frederick and Pionk for that much might not have been the best way to go. If Pionk, does sign for too much, I might look to immediately move him for Gavin Bayreuther. We'll see. Money-wise, it's close. I would like to bring back pretty much everybody that we have under an expiring deal there, but there's a lot to do. There's a lot of moves to make, and not a lot of money to make these moves with at this point. Let's go ahead and sim up until we hear answers. We're not going to hear them yet. So Carolina, can we get the win? Not sure yet. Pionk is signed. Frederick's back. Farabee, Wallstrom have all signed. And a 4-1 win. So back-to-back wins for the Blue Jackets, and the first time in God knows how long. So that's a nice sign. Back up into third place in this division. And let's see what the money is looking like. We have $6 million in cap space for this season, but it's next year's numbers that are important, as we have $4 million. $4 million bucks next year. Right. Which means Kevin LeBanc isn't going to happen. I am probably going to have to move Pionk to be able to re-sign Quinn Hughes. That's what it's looking like. So all of these kind of fringe players, it is absolutely up in the air as far as whether or not they're coming back. But I do want to bring back Quinn Hughes. We're going to have to make a move, though, to make sure that can happen. I had a feeling once I sent out the Pionk offer, and then seeing what Kevin LeBanc wanted to re-sign for, that we probably overstretched by just a little bit. So what we're going to do, we're going to let a little bit of time pass. Let's go ahead and sim some games. We're going to let a little bit of time pass before trading Pionk. More than likely, I'm trading him at least. And that way, we hopefully don't get in trouble for trading someone too quickly. As we just lost 6-5 to Detroit. Why? Oh, boy. Okay. Now, see, at the very least, you can't be like, oh, look, you're losing a ton of games now. We were losing a ton of games before those moves. So, at the very least, I have that built-in defense. I don't know what it is, but this is rivaling... rivaling? Really? This is rivaling some of our biggest February collapses that we've ever had. So, that's an accomplishment. Because we have had some epic collapses throughout the month of February in previous years. This is right up there with them. This has been pretty poor. Question is, Ryan Donato, what are you up to point total-wise? 28. You have 3 points. Granted, we're not winning games. But that's a problem. That is a problem. That is unfortunate. And actually, in fairness, I didn't have another right-handed defenseman in mind outside of Pionk. I had lefties in mind. So that's a little bit unfortunate. I'm trying to remember who else might have been on that righty list, and I can't remember. I should have kept the righty list, but I'm like, no, I'll label it down to just the two of them. We have a move to make. Ryan Donato, I'm sorry. But I'm going to see what I can do here in terms of potentially working out a deal with the New Jersey Devils for one Dylan Larkin. Now, of course, we used Dylan Larkin in the Rebuilding Hockeytown series. It didn't work out tremendously well. But we'll see what happens here. If I could get them, I doubt they will, but if I could get them to retain salary on Larkin, we would be able to afford Hughes, no problem. So I'm going to at least try. I doubt that they do it, but it's worth a shot. So we know what we're going to have to give up a little bit here because they don't want to trade him. So what if I now use the Boston second rounder? Where does that put us? Exactly, they don't want to retain. Okay. So I'm going to keep adding draft picks into this to try and pull this off. It would be much easier for me if they were to just, retain salary, as opposed to me having to trade Pionk. And then thinking about the replacement, although I could just use like an in-house replacement, someone who's a little bit weaker than he is. To be honest, his contract is a little bit of an issue. I wish I could, and it's a very nice thing that a certain game that, rhymes with MLB The Show. You can be like, oh, never mind, I don't want to do that, and you can withdraw the offer. That'd be nice. That'd be a nice little feature, just in case you realize you did something that you probably shouldn't have done. That'd be pretty cool. That's not a thing, though, and it comes back to haunt me quite a lot. You should think before you do stuff. Okay, Dad, calm down. Can I add Harper into this? Do they have the space for him? They don't. Shit. Okay. I have to keep using draft picks here. How much value can I possibly send you? What about our second round pick 3 years from now? Like, how much do I have to send you to make it worth holding on to that little bit of extra from Larkin? That is my question. Apparently that's just not going to happen. So we won't look to have them retain any salary on Larkin. That won't go through straight up. No, it won't. Okay. How much money was there? 300K? We might actually still be able to afford Hughes. Barely? Maybe? It's going to be tough. Extension salary. Oh my god. You can see some of the money here is ridiculous. Greenway, Frederick, or Pionk. Frederick's been pretty good this season. Greenway's been very good this season as well. I might move out Frederick. Admittedly. I don't know why. Just Greenway's been a little bit better than I expected. Especially with those attributes. So, I mean, if we're looking in the future, Middlestat, Kachuk, Besser, Hughes with Larkin and Wallstrom, third line of Paling, Greenway, and whoever. And then, Farabee with Norris. Is Bertuzzi a righty? He's not. Right. I mean, because we obviously have some prospects, but there aren't any game-changing prospects coming up through our system right now. But I'm also now very much worried about the money total. You know what? Here. Let me see. I need, and honestly, I'm just spamming. Aha! I have discovered who I wanted. Sunil Pionk, I'm sorry, I really like you, but you're on your way out. I know the defenseman that I wanted to get, that I chose Pionk over. So we're going to look to target him. Are there any Americans, particularly forwards, that I could have to bolster the AHL lineup? Mateau, correct? Yes, but he makes a little bit too much money. That's kind of the point, is I'm like, you know what, he shouldn't make that much, though, that it would kind of screw me over. So, Donato and Pionk for Larkin and Mateau, will that go through straight up? It would. Beautiful. So, let me just try to even this out. As you can see, I kind of need to recoup some draft picks here. Be nice if I could do that. Will that still go through? Yes, it would. All right, let me look for something better. Let's go the 4th, and the 5th. Will that still go through? No, it will not. Let's take out that extra 5th. Let's use the Winnipeg 6th. Will that go through? Still no, just a bit low. How much is just a bit? It's all subjective. What about the Winnipeg 7th? Okay, fine. 2/4? I hate you. I hate your guts. There's Lou Lamoriello back there. He's not. He's with the Islanders, apparently, but just damn it. Not even apparently. That's official. Kick rocks, Gart Snow. God, fucking glitches. There's so many things about this game. It's June, and I've had enough about some of the little things that have plagued this game. It's the minor stuff that drives you insane. How about just a 4th and a 5th? Screw it. Donato and Pionk are gone. We have acquired Dylan Larkin from New Jersey. I have one other move to make, and that is acquiring a new right-handed defenseman, and I know who that's going to be. From the St. Louis Blues, Connor Carrick is going to be the new target. He's nothing special, but he'll fill the role that we need him to play right now. And we should have the money to re-sign Quinn Hughes, no problem. And then from there, what happens with some of the other guys, I don't know. In terms of some of these depth guys like the Nick Sealers, the Samuelsons, we'll see what happens. Money-wise, it could be tough. So let's see. Let's go with our second round pick down the road. That is way too much. I do want to recoup a little bit here. 2/3 would be too much, I'm sure. Yes, it would. What about 1/3? Wow. Driving a hard bargain, St. Louis. What about 2 4th-round picks? 1 4th-round pick. I hate straight up. I just got so shafted there, but I don't care. It's fine. Connor Carrick, welcome to the team. And with that, we should pretty much be good to go. Larkin's now our new leading scorer, so it was a good time to pick him up. Let's hope he can continue having some of that success. I am going to send down Mateau. If we lose him, so be it. And we did. So we haven't had a ton of luck with sending players down, but it is what it is. And if anything, that frees up a little bit more money to make sure that we can sign Quinn Hughes. Let's go best lines. Who's the better center? Probably Hughes. Although I could put Larkin at center and move Hughes back to the wing. I don't know. Let's do that for the moment. And everything else is good to go defensively. I like it. I like it. And then AHL, we'll go best lines. Like I said, I'm going to have to go ahead and research and find some players on the free agent list, some veterans that currently aren't signed. We'll bring them in to bolster up Cleveland as much as we possibly can. The wheeling and dealing is just about done. The last thing that we really need to do here is to bring back Quinn Hughes. We have $6 million to work with now. I'm honestly only going to bring him back for 1 year. And to be honest, we could have kept Pionk in hindsight. We could have. I didn't even think, because I wanted to sign him for a half-decent amount. You know what? I still will, now that I can. But I could have kept Pionk in hindsight. Let's go up to 4.8. That should hopefully be enough. So we'll look to bring him back. The Pionk contract was pretty bad, though. He wasn't really going to be worth that. So we'll see if he re-signs. Like I said, I still need to bring in some veterans. And let's see. Oh, we only have 1 day. So, you know what? For the moment, I think we're good. I do need to double check here, though, and I really don't want to break out the laptop. I don't know. I don't know who's American by default. Some people I think I know, but I'm not sure. And then people be like, "Oh, how'd you not know he was Canadian?" So, screw it. I think for this episode, we are good to go. More than enough moves for you guys to criticize me for, and I very much look forward to it. Some big moves. Whether or not we make the playoffs, I'm not entirely sure. I wouldn't exactly bank on it, and at the very least, Kevin LeBanc on it, and at the very least, I wouldn't expect things to go over that well. But we have added some solid defensive prospects. It's just a matter of whether or not they develop from this point, and we have been able to keep the majority of the core together. The draft pick situation still looks okay. Doesn't look terrible, although, of course, the Bruins' pick in value has dipped a little bit. But what are you going to do? We had to trade Trouba, and there was nobody equal value for Trouba. What am I going to do? Bring back Matthews and then just be in the same situation? No. So, overall, we're looking okay. Moving forward, it comes down to two things. What players show up in the draft and whether or not our prospects actually develop. In the short term, re-signing Quinn Hughes and figuring out the rest of that, bolstering up the Cleveland Monsters as much as I can, and that pretty much does it. So for now, needless to say, after an episode like that, as we sit 1 point out of the playoffs, I look forward to your reaction to this video. Understand that I did what I felt was best, because otherwise we would have had to let go of a lot of high-value players anyway. Regardless, we were going to lose high-value players. Like, that's indisputable, but at the very least, we've brought in some prospects. I'm going to stop rambling. Thank you for watching. You know what you can do to support this channel in the video. We're on the road to 10K subs, damn it. 3 months away from that 3-year anniversary of being here on YouTube. I want that 10K. I need that 10K to still make me feel like I'm progressing at a good enough rate to make this worth it, because holy shit, if I'm going to spend 2 hours searching through all 30 teams to find the perfect deals, in my opinion, then damn it, I need that validation. Links are in the description of my Twitter and Twitch. Thank you once again for watching. I hope you have a great day, evening, night, brunch, lunch, second dinner, desserts even. Maybe it's a dessert kind of night for you, maybe not. Maybe you're just like, summer's here, summer body, I don't need that ice cream. You do you. I'll see you next time. What a fucking outro. Glorious. What an outro.